All right, I'm gonna give a few more seconds to let people get on my end. All right, 10 more seconds and we'll go ahead and get started. Let's see. All right, good evening, everyone. Dr. Mister of Soul and Reef Physical Therapy. This month, again, we're celebrating or bringing awareness to, instead of celebrating, we're bringing awareness to food allergies, celiac disease, and asthma. And today, I wanted to bring on a wonderful speaker and author and nutritionist, name it, she does it with health, Miss Stephanie Lopez Gilmore. Before I bring her up, let me give you her bio. So, Stephanie is a health and fitness coach with a background in nutrition, Ayurveda, and women's hormonal health. She specializes in weight loss and hormonal balance. She is a co-author of the best-selling "Oh My Health, There Is Hope" book that is currently working on her second co-author book on weight loss. Feeling your best starts from the inside out, which I totally agree with. Stephanie believes that a healthy, balanced woman who feels her best will shine and look her best. She helps women from all ages take action to identify the root causes of their health and wellness struggles, remove any hormonal imbalances, and help them live a balanced and healthy life. So we're gonna bring up Miss Stephanie and her handsome son.
He's being super wiggly right now. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you because again, we didn't get to hear each other speak at the Melanated Mom Self Love Summit because we were speaking at the same time. I missed it, but I have you here now. So hey, before we get started, give us a little bit about you, where you are located, schooling, background, any of those things.
So I'm born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, poor cold area, which okay. It's a lot warmer. And it's interesting, like my former background is actually in politics. So I have my master's degree in public administration. And it was a couple of years ago, back in like 2014, 2015, where I just started getting a really big interest in physical fitness. And so I ended up getting my certification to become a personal trainer and realized with my clients that there was a lot of things that were lacking just because I would see them maybe once or twice a week. So those 1 or 2 hours a week was not negating all of the hours of food intake that they had throughout the course of the week that was causing a lot of the struggles that they were dealing with in the gym. And so then I went back and got certifications for nutrition, certifications for health coaching, because I realized it was also mental health aspect, right? Yes. It's the whole like, you know what to do, but you don't do it. So exactly. What is it that why is it that you are not doing it, right? And so I needed to know that. And then that just took me down a huge loophole of getting more and more certifications into hormonal health when I was dealing with my own hormonal health issues and realizing a lot of this stuff stemmed from lifestyle things along with dietary things and environment. And then Ayurvedic is the last one. So the longest program, I told myself that that's it when it comes to health and wellness. It's been over 2 years in the process to become an Ayurvedic practitioner, which is one step lower than an Ayurvedic doctor. I was thinking about going down that route, and then I'm like, okay, nice. I was like, I can't take it any longer.
Yeah, and then you're busy, as we can tell.
I've been going into education since 2016. I need a break.
Gotcha.
I love it also because it takes into the aspect, just with everything in my practice, it's lifestyle. So really taking into account that your body changes all the time. And so something that worked for you last season is probably not going to work for you this season. Your environment has a massive impact in things, the stress levels that you have. And so it's not just here, take this herbal supplement and call it a day, but it's really like, let's look at practices for lifestyle. What is your morning routine? Let's look at how we can put in some asanas, which are like yoga poses, or pranayama, which is breath practices, into your life. let's look at the food that you're taking. Is it actually helping you, or is it hindering you based off of what is going on in your environment? And it's all about getting you back into balance, which plays a huge role in hormones at the end of the day.
Yes. And that is another thing. So is diet the best way to balance your hormones, or?
Yes. So diet would be probably the top one. And when most people come to me and they're saying that they have a hormonal imbalance, and a lot of times I can tell off the bat where, especially if fat pockets lie in certain areas. So if you have excess amount of fat in the midsection, it's going to be cortisol, estrogen, insulin resistance, those areas. And so, or in, it's just, I could find certain areas, or I can just tell from when I'm people are talking about all these symptoms. I'm like, okay, let's dive in a little bit deeper into your nutritional aspect. And a lot of it's the food that we are consuming has a lot of GMOs. I mean, you probably have heard of like GMOs and everything. That people like, oh, you got to go organic. But there's really like reasons behind a lot of this, because our bodies are not used to having so much processed chemicals in it, and it's causing these hormonal disruptions. And so, you don't have to go crazy organic with everything, but there are certain things that you really need to take a look at and say, like, is this food causing some form of inflammation in my body? And is this inflammation in my body causing me to have hormonal imbalances, which is the onset of a lot of the symptoms that I'm experiencing.
Gotcha. And you mentioned Ayurveda. What is that exactly?
So Ayurveda is the sister science to yoga. So everyone knows about yoga. And again, yoga is like the asanas, as we would call it. These are like the actual poses. Like, okay, you're going to go to down dog and upward facing dog and all those kind of things. Ayurveda is the whole aspect of it, talking about, okay, it's your dietary, it's your lifestyle changes. It is treatment programs, it's herbal things. This is all, it encompasses so many different aspects of it. And it's saying that you can't just do the yoga without having the Ayurvedic aspect of it, because they go hand in hand for a complete balance and a treatment program. So when we're looking at Ayurveda, I should go back and get maybe a certification in yoga, but lots of people are like, oh, give me some like yoga poses. I can give you a couple of them. I'm not going to lead a whole yoga class. But when I'm looking at my clients, there's a lot of, and it's really kind of interesting, a lot of the Western medicine aspects of like tongue. Like, when you go to the doctor and they ask you to stick out your tongue, tongue analysis came from Ayurveda. We can also take a look at your nails to see if there's something going on, if there's an imbalance in your nails. Another one, and I've not personally done this, but some Ayurveda practitioners can take a look at like your stool and your urine samples and see if there's any imbalances there. So this all stems from Ayurveda, which is the ancient Indian practice of medicine. And then from there, we will look into dietary changes to make. We will look into lifestyle changes and herbal recommendations based off of a thing called doshas, which is your mind-body type, which is what I love about Ayurveda, is that they understand that your mind and your body go hand in hand. So if there's something mentally going on with you, there's going to be a physical aspect of it. True. And that, again, your environment and your situations change all the time. And therefore, your treatment plan will have to be adjusted based off of the situations going on. So the whole thing is like when you're born, unless you were born with some kind of like predisposition or an illness, you're born pure. And so we're trying to get you back to that state of where you were born. And your diet, your home environment, the toxins in your household, the stress levels, all of these things can have a huge play that will take you from your dosha that you were born with to a completely different thing. And now we're trying to work you with back.
Gotcha. So how do you feel about the BMI charts? I know this is something I just thought of. Go ahead. I'll let you talk.
Yeah, so the problem is that if you take into consideration, they don't take into consideration people's like muscle mass, right? Yeah. And so you can have someone that has a good amount, especially, so this is going back to like when I used to work with a lot of bodybuilders and was doing competitions myself. You look at like these big bodybuilders, they have a huge BMI, but are they fat?
Right.
No, it's all muscle, but it's just because you're basing it off of your height and your weight. and your age, okay,
Yes.
but you're not taking into consideration how much body fat versus muscle mass do I have. And I know some people who have low BMI, but we call them skinny fat, where it's just there's a lot of fat mass in there. They're tall and skinny, but they can't walk up a flight of stairs without being out of breath. Is that healthy?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I know, because based on the BMI chart, I was like, there is no way I'm getting to that weight. Like, and I don't even know if I want to, because I feel like I would look sick,
Yeah,
so.
you look very gaunt. And
Right.
there's a lot of, I mean, my son's BMI is really low because he's just a really tall, lean kid. But, people be like, oh, he's underweight. I'm like, no, he's not. He's healthy. He's healthy. He's got some good muscle tone.
Yeah.
He's a healthy child.
Exactly.
I was like, do you know how much this kid eats? You don't even know how much.
Exactly, right? That's great. I mean, because I guess a lot of people, they love to see the chunky type babies,
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, yeah. They're like, he doesn't have any rolls. And I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to have rolls.
Especially the thigh rolls and the face. Yeah, they love that. So.
No chin.
Right. Exactly.
And everyone, and again, like, that's another thing, because then they'll be like, oh, that baby's overweight. It's like, no, not necessarily. I mean, the baby might eat a whole lot less food than my son does, but you're just kind of basing it off of BMI. Yeah, so I'm not a big fan of the BMI charts.
Yeah, me either. Okay, so stimulants. Now, a lot of people go for caffeine. The caffeine drinks, the coffees for the morning. I'm personally, I can't have caffeine at all.
Okay.
What do you recommend for someone who needs a pick-me-up but they can't have caffeine?
All right, so the first thing I would say is, when the majority of a couple of things, and this is going back into like not even going with any kind of stimulants, right? Okay. Most of the times, people who are tired, they need to be just grabbing some water, because about 80% of your brain is filled with water. And so when you're tired, you're probably dehydrated. And when are we usually tired? First thing in the morning, right? You get that drop in the morning. Because number one, you probably didn't get enough sleep. Number two, you're probably dehydrated because you've gone at least 5+ hours without having any hydration, right? I mean, 5, I would say, is probably like the low end that someone should be getting sleep. But 5+ hours without having any hydration. And then what do you do first thing in the morning? Oh, I want to have some caffeine, which is even more. And so it gives you this artificial spike, and then you come crashing back down. The other thing is that when we crash back down, we typically crave more caffeine and sugar. And so water and having good protein and healthy fat. So even like having a handful of nuts or having some like lean beans or anything like that, snacks throughout the day, is going to give you way more energy than any drink that you could possibly have out there. Now, I do know some people, they like the feeling of like coffee, right? For like a pre-workout or anything else like that. Then I would still go for like a green tea. But most of the time, having just simple water is going to give you simple water, and protein is going to boost your energy stores, because number one, we're hydrating you, and we're also regulating out your blood sugar, which is I gotta take a sip of water.
All right, I need to do. That's interesting. I wouldn't expect you to say that, because I've seen some some pre-workout they're saying stimulated, but I'm just cautious of that, because I know me, if I take anything, I'm like, I feel it for the rest of the day.
And some of them, like, I mean, nice people, like for pre-workouts, they like that tingly sensation, so you can go with like niacin, but they also give you a flush. I mean, we could turn bright red and just feel like your whole skin is about to come crawling off of you. Not necessarily the feeling I like to have, but over to you if that's what you like to have. But and I'm laughing because my husband just but like hydration, really, like, and so I say, and I typically, like, at the end of the day, like, this glass actually will go upstairs, so I will pour it up with water. I will have it right by my nightstand, and as soon as I wake up in the morning, I'm drinking so this is about 16 ounces of water, right? And then I brush my teeth, I come downstairs, and I make another 16-ounce thing of water with apple cider vinegar. That's just my kind of thing, because it helps get my warm water with apple cider vinegar. It gets my digestive system going. And I sit over here in my little meditation area, and I meditate. And so before I have anything, I'm having two 16-ounce things of water before I even have coffee. Right?
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And then by that time, I'm only having 1 cup of coffee.
Okay. And warm water. Like,
Warm
do you
water.
drink throughout the day? Because I always say
Yeah.
room temperature to warm. Do you actually
Room
use
temperature to
warm?
warm. And that's another thing. So this is something I learned, again, in Ayurveda versus cold water. So Ayurveda has this thing, Agni, which is your digestive fire.
Okay.
And in order to get the Agni going and getting it, everything stems from the digestion. So like everything stems from the gut, right?
Yes.
In Ayurveda. And so in order to get this digestive fire going, you really want to have something warm. So the analogy that we use is, think of it as having like a campfire, right? You
Okay.
build up a campfire, and the first thing that you, in the morning, like you got this like small little smoldering fire going. You don't want to take some cold water and douse it. Like, you're looking to put something warm on it to keep it kindling. And so that's what ends up happening. So a lot of times, like Western diets, cold water, smoothie first thing in the morning, all of these things. And what it's doing is causing your whole digestive system to kind of curl up. Now, cold water later on the day, or cold things later on the day as you're getting ready to go to bed, is fine, but you don't want to have it first thing in the morning. And I see a lot of clients that they'll start with like smoothie, and then all of a sudden they're like, I was really craving, and it's like eggs or oatmeal or something like that. And I was like, this is because your body is telling you that it needs something warm, and you've been ignoring it by giving it something cold. Well, I thought smoothies were good for me. Yeah, but have it a little bit later on, and not first thing in the morning. or
And it's interesting. Right. It's interesting you said that, because I'm a smoothie person too. And I was talking to another, she's a holistic physician, and she said, I was like, I don't want anything cold in the morning. She was like, well, just warm it up a little bit. Like, you can put it on the stove top and warm, because I like the fruit smoothies. Brilliant. I was like, oh, okay. And it worked. It worked just fine. It didn't bother me at all. And I could tolerate, because I was thinking warm fruit drinking, but it was fine. Like, it was.
And I mean, some people are they're like, whoa, I'm gonna pass this little guy off. Some people are like, oh, but it's actually really, really great. Matthew?
Not ready. You're fine. One mom to another, handle your business.
I was like, oh, I'm about to pass off. He's like, I got to do something really quick. I'm like, okay.
But okay. We have a question for you. And anybody else, if you guys have any more questions, please ask them. So what are some common changes you recommend to make simply with aging? So like, if a person is aging, is there anything they can do to help with healthy aging?
Okay. So one of the things, and this is just not even when it comes to nutrition wise, but just for overall health and wellness, is to do some kind of resistance training. I think that's the biggest thing. Number one that I see, especially when it comes to women, is that they're like cardio fanatics, right? But as you age, you start to lose muscle tone all over the place. And your joints, when you have a lot of issues with walking up and down the stairs, it's because they really need to have that muscle tone. So this is kind of going back to when I was doing a lot more personal training. I always say, like, do some form of resistance training. It doesn't have to be heavy weights. You don't have to be, like crazy man in the gym, right? Just get some bands and get some kind of resistance training or weight bearing exercises, so that you are able to, we call it functional fitness, do the things that you're supposed to do throughout the course of life and function properly. So that would be a big thing. The other thing I will say is when we age, and then this is going back to Ayurveda, we believe, there we go. When we age, there's the doshas, as I was kind of talking about before, and I'll briefly explain them. There's one called Vata, and Vata is the properties of it is like dry, windy, cracky joints, brittle hair, paper thin skin. Also seeing someone that's like really frail, right? So this is all qualities that you would typically see in someone that's older, right? That they start to like lose a lot of the plumpness that they would typically have. And so we always say we're going to do the complete opposite of that. So instead of something dry, you want to have something that's moist. So instead of like crackers, you're looking at having more like some like a porridge or oatmeal or things like that. Instead of having something that's cold, it's going to be something that's warm. So instead of like salad, sauteing your vegetables, instead adding a lot of oil into your body, that is going to help plump up everything. It's going to cause you to have another dosage that we call is kapha. When kapha is a good example of someone that's kapha would be like a Rachel Ray or Oprah Winfrey, right? That's like on the large side. I'm not saying that we're going to make you really fat, but it's going to give you more plumpness in it. So you typically see as you are a kid, kapha is like your younger years. Pitta is like your teenage years, where you like lose a lot of that baby weight and you become really athletic and you have all this crazy amount of energy, right? You do a lot of things, and then vata is typically as you start to go into that perimenopause years where you start to slow down. And so that's the thing. It would be a lot more nourishing, a lot more oil in your food, a lot more resistance trainings too.
Gotcha. All right, I have another question for you. It says, what type of diet do you suggest for a person that may have genetically hormonal imbalances and those that may have hormonal imbalances that may cause imbalance in the menstrual cycle?
So typically, and this is going to be vague because usually I would go into like figuring out what is the hormonal imbalance, right? So this is some vague things, but I'll tell you more so things to eliminate. And so I have a cleanse, and actually have a couple clients that are going through it right now. It's a 21-day cleanse. Now it's not 21 days of you actually like restricting food, but it's 21 days of you taking time for yourself. So 14 of the days we're actually doing, we call elimination cleanse. And so I'll briefly tell you what the things that we would be eliminating at this time. And this is where I take all of my clients through. First and foremost, if they have a hormonal imbalance: sugar, caffeine, alcohol, red meat, gluten, and I'm trying to think of dairy. Dairy is a big one. All right. These are all things that cause inflammation in the body, as you know, right? They're all inflammatory symptoms. And when you have inflammation in the body, you're going to have a hormonal disruption. Dairy is a really big one because a lot of times we don't realize that, but dairy that comes from cows, those cows are injected with hormones. Because think about it. If you are a mom, how many years are you actually like lactating, right? And how many kids are you feeding at that time? Right? People like some people go up to 6 years. Like power to you, mama, out there can do that. But really, like you're looking at a cow that's like lactating for longer than than the baby's around, and they're doing mass amounts of milk to produce for us to have dairy products, right? And so in order for them to do that, they have to inject them with hormones. Because if you sit there and think about it, when you are pregnant and when you are breastfeeding, you have an excess amount of estrogen, which is allowing you to make your milk. So now you have some form, if you don't have any estrogen issues, right? But now you're consuming a product that has excess amount of estrogen in it. You're impacted with it. Now you have a thing we call estrogen dominance. And surprisingly, you can have estrogen dominance even though you are going through menopause and perimenopause. Because what ends up happening is if your estrogen levels estrogen is going to slow down. But if your estrogen levels are not slowing down as fast as your progesterone levels are, and your progesterone is dropping faster, you still can have estrogen dominance. So ladies are like, well, I'm going through menopause and perimenopause. And I'm like, you still have the symptoms of estrogen dominance. So that's the biggest one, would be eliminating the dairy. Another thing, this is not necessarily food related, but this is something that's product related. And this is what shocks a lot of people when I say this, because they're like, no, not mine, da-da-da-da. And I'm like, da-da-da-da. So your cleaning products, the products that you use to clean your body, your household. So some of the big ones are like any of the dyes, synthetic dyes that you have in any of your cleaning products, right? Your Windex, your Tide, all of those things. Someone was like, Tide Pods. I was like, yes, Tide Pods too. Like, you know, but I love my Tide Pods. I was like, so Tide Pods, fragrances, anything that's made with fragrances that are not derived from essential oils. And so sit there and think about it. What essential oil have you ever seen that's strawberries and cream?
True. True.
Right? Or pina colada. Like that's great. Like, I've never seen it. I've seen lime. I've seen, like maybe you can extract coconut and you can kind of make a pina colada. But these are all scents that or birthday cake candle or whatever you might. So the candles that you're like looking around the house like, darn that candle.
I actually don't burn the candles. Okay. I really don't. I don't.
The candles, everything down to your shampoo, your face wash, your body wash, your sprays that you might be using, what you're cleaning the household with. There's a lot of toxins that are in those things, and it's causing a toxic overload. And what they end up doing is a thing called xenoestrogens. Some of these can mimic estrogen in your body and cause imbalances. And so I always, because you might have people who are pondering, like, why are our younger girls having their periods at an earlier age, right? Where they're as young as 10, 9 years old having their cycles. I was 14. And at that time, that was like more of a normal thing. Like 14, 16, 18 was a little bit more normal. Now you're seeing like kids that are like, man, I don't even think that you're not even going into double digits and you're having your cycle, right? It's because of the products that we have in our household, and it's because of the food that we are consuming that is causing this upspike of estrogen, and it's causing our youth to have all these problems, and then it ends up being a lifelong problem, right? Because they're so surrounded by it that they don't realize it. And it can also, ladies, be the products. This is another thing that that shocks some people. It can be the products that your spouse or your significant others wear. So if you are intimate with someone else, like one of my clients, she was wondering what was going on. Like, I'm so clean. Well, her husband was using Axe body spray, and intimate, it's rubbing off on her, causing her problems. And that was one of the reasons why there was one of the reasons out of a couple of things that was causing her infertility.
Wow.
So you have to have a conversation with your significant other too, but like no more whatever it is that you're using.
And it smells so good, right? Wow, that's wow. I don't even know what to say. That's interesting.
And so that's the other side of it. I mean, we can go into like plastics, are not that great, even if you go with BPA free and things like that. There's so many different things. And so when I do my cleanse process, I give you a whole bunch of resources. And I usually start people off with the nutrition aspect, because that's a little bit easier. And then we go into like, okay, if you want to take it to the next step, then these are the products to eliminate out and how to replace them with other things. So it's better cleaning products that you can use. A lot of times people, this is money. And so they're like, I'm not telling you to toss out your Tide Pods, but when the Tide Pods are done, now it's time to find something else. Like, you're like, I'm not going to tell you to waste the money that you just spent. Because I understand, like, I'm my mom, like money, you spend that money. So continue using your Windex and your 409 and your Clorox or whatever it may be. But once it's over with, then start looking at alternatives.
That's right. How do you feel about soy? I feel like, I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I was thinking a lot of the younger, when you talk about the younger girls, like developing quicker, from pubic hair to hair on their arms. So I feel like soy is playing a big role in it too. I feel, but what do you think? Go ahead.
Oh yeah. It is. And so soy in moderation is fine. And then I know.
Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And I would say I'm saying like once or twice a week, right? Like if you had like edamame, and I would more of the whole, like edamame beans, right? Versus like the silk soy milk kind of stuff, or like the soy vegan version of whatever it may be.
Right.
So it's better for those that are going through perimenopause and menopause if they don't have estrogen dominance, because again, it can mimic estrogen in your body. So I don't recommend it for anyone that is during the childbearing years. I do recommend a little bit higher dosages, for women that are going through the menopause and perimenopause if they don't have the estrogen dominance only.
Okay. And little boys.
Try like small amounts, like so once if I'm saying like maybe like a cup of like edamame beans like once or twice a week is not going to be a problem. But if you're now like soy burger and soy this and soy that, again, it's going to cause them to have excess amount of estrogen, which is going to cause the testosterone levels to be all over the place.
Exactly. And again, so moderation is it based on body size, body type? you know, do you base it, or is it just a few times a week, period?
A few times a week, period. So I usually look at, so when I'm talking about moderation with anything, right? There's so many different things. Like you might have heard like the 80-20 rule, which is like 80% healthy, 20% like a treat. So when I'm saying like, you know, have coffee in moderation. So that is something like have it once a day, right? And really try to keep it at, so this depends on what it is. Like have coffee like once a day, try not to go over that because now you're causing, caffeine can cause hormonal disruptions too. Other thing would be like, you know, people like sweets. It's like, okay, have sweets like maybe once or twice a week. But really try to like enjoy it. I mean, don't restrict it because when you restrict something, then you're going to want it even more.
Yes.
But it's try to plan around it as best as possible. So like, all right, you know, this past Sunday was Mother's Day. And I had a lot of clients like, well, it's Mother's Day. And I'm like, okay, so let's think about this. Are you going to have an alcoholic drink? Are you going to have, you know, some kind of sweet? Factor those things in, but the rest of the day, making sure that you're having whole nutritious meals so that when you are having that thing that you can enjoy it. And we call it crowding out. So we crowd out the bad stuff with a whole bunch of good stuff. So that by the time you go and have the, not necessarily saying like alcohol and caffeine and sugar are bad, but by the time you go and have your treat, you're not like, oh, I'm going to like stuff myself. It's like, oh, okay, like I can have a slice of cake and not ask for seconds. You know, I can have a glass of wine and not have to have the whole bottle. I mean, maybe it's a stressful day and you just feel like you need to have a whole bottle. Then I would say,
go for it.
But I had a couple of ladies and I'm like, I understand. As a mom, sometimes you just need to have the whole bottle.
All right.
And then you're just going to make sure that you just hydrate as much as possible tomorrow.
That's true. That's true. So do you find that raw vegetables and fruits are better than anything cooked? Or should we mix them?
So mixture. So again, in Ayurveda, we don't really like a lot of the raw stuff because it can be in vata again. And so vata is that really dry thing. So slightly cooked. So there's a lot of nutrients in slightly cooked foods. So you're not, and I have to say this because I have family members that they're like, well, it's cooked and then like the green vegetables now gray. And I'm like, you just cooked everything out.
Yes.
So
drink the liquid.
Like whatever the vegetable is, heightening the color, right? So like if you have broccoli and all of a sudden the broccoli gets a little bit brighter in color, but before it's like fully like mush, right? Gotcha. That is going to be really, really great. And it's going to have a lot of nutrients in it. And so I really, I like to have food slightly cooked. Now, again, have your salads and things like that. But if you're going to have your salad, I would definitely say in order to combat the vata, have some kind of fat in it. So nuts, seeds, avocado, you know, like your dressing, things like that, that's going to combat the dryness of the salad. So that's the main reason. I mean, in Ayurveda, we really try to reduce vata because vata is, as a dosha, can be the stem of all diseases. It causes the onset of a lot of other things.
Gotcha. All right. So my son, I brought you on for my personal reasons. Oh, my son, I tell everybody he was born vegan. He does have some meat allergies, but he will not eat meat. Like he looks at it and he smells it and he's like, no way, not taking it. What is the best protein? Like I do pinto beans and black beans. Am I missing something? You know? So
like another one is like dal. So that's another like dal or mung beans would be really good. But all of like, you could do jackfruit. Some people really like the jackfruit. I really try to stay away from all of the processed items. And let me actually, you know what? I'm going to pull up my whole list of vegetarian items for protein since you asked that. So give me one moment. But really, really try to stay away from the Beyond everything. I haven't personally tried any of the Beyond stuff. I know a lot of people are like, but what about Beyond da 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 da?
But it has a lot of soy in it.
Yeah. And I'm like, no. Yeah. Can you not do that? If I could find my desktop. But I personally do not eat any of the Beyond items because of the fact that it is so processed. So protein, we're looking at lentils, beans and legumes, protein powder. So like when we talk about protein powder, like pea protein powder, rice protein powder are good. Another one, this is a really interesting one, and it's also great for hormonal health too, moringa. It's a moringa. So I always thought it was just an herb. I went to Africa and realized that it is not just an herb. It is it's like the leaves from this tree, pretty much. And so you could cook it up, and we had it cooked and we dried it up and made it into herbal supplement. But like cooked, it's pretty much like spinach. I don't know if you can find it here in the United States like that, but moringa usually comes in like a powder form. It looks kind of like a green powder, like matcha. And it has a lot of great components in it, and it's really good also. It's what they use in Africa for kids and families that are malnourished, because it has so many vitamins and minerals and protein in it. It's also really great for lactating moms, because it helps reduce excess amount. Other ones, now I have to ask, like, so some people are vegan and then some people are vegetarian. So does he eat eggs?
No, allergic. He's allergic to egg.
Dairy?
I'm sorry. Egg, dairy. He has some meat, some environmental things. He can't have nuts. It's a lot. It's easy to say what he can't eat.
Can he have seeds?
I think he can. Like I'm at the point now where I'm scared to try anything new, and I know
seeds is another good one because it's a fat. A little bit of edamame in moderation. Mushrooms, spirulina is another great one. Tofu and tempeh in moderation too. And when I say that, like once or twice, like a week is fine. Like it's just that don't make soy and tempeh and or any of them. Even like Beyond stuff. I mean, I never tried it. Like every once in a while, it's fine. It's just when I see people like, I have Beyond this and Impossible that, and then this, and I'm like, did everything come out of a package?
True. Yeah. And I'm like you. I try to keep him as natural as possible, but he loves French fries. So on those days, to me, when he's looking puny because he's going on strike because he's tired of eating vegetables, I give him the French fries, and it does plump him up. But I know it's not like healthy. So.
Hey.
I know. I give it to him. Like
potato fries, you could do sweet potato fries, or even like the Redskin or fingerling potatoes. Yeah, those have a little bit more nutrients in them. Yeah, I mean, again, it's not. I mean, and I'm guessing you're not doing this on a daily basis. Like, here's some. You're like, yes, I am.
It depends. I'm telling you, I'm gonna be honest. If it's a week, then I'm like, I'm either in the kitchen cooking it, or I take him to, because the only fries he can eat, and I know this is gonna sound horrible, is McDonald's. And Chick-fil-A. He can have those too. Because they don't really, there's a little bit of cross-contamination. Like if I give him something else, like if we go to a fast food restaurant, a sit-down restaurant, then they're like, oh, we cook our chicken in with our fries and he can't have it. It's real.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So here's a little fun caveat, and this is off kind of topic, but get this. So my husband does architectural work for a couple of McDonald's in this area. Guess what is the most popular time for people to get a milkshake from McDonald's?
What time is that?
Yes. Just throw out a time.
A milkshake. I would say lunch. So around 11, 12.
8 a.m.
You know what?
You know why? Because they did a study. There's a thing called a milkshake study. So take a look into it. Look it up for McDonald's. They did a study to figure out when is the most popular time for milkshakes. And they asked a lot of their customers, is because customers needed something that was filling, that they could easily have on their commute to work.
Gotcha.
Well, that to me, just as a nutritionist, I'm like, a milkshake for breakfast? Yeah. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, that sounds horrible.
Yeah.
But then I've also had clients that are like, I had a client recently who's on my detox right now. And I was like, did you actually have Snickers for breakfast? And she was like, yes, 2 king-size Snickers for breakfast. She's like, it was an easy thing for me to eat on my way to work.
Yeah. Yep. Convenience. Yep. And that's my final question for you. Like, okay, well, I have 2 more. So if patients or individuals want to work with you, they can go to this site and they can, and you help set up a personal wellness program for each person based on their symptoms. Okay.
Yeah. So like the detox is pretty much like, I start most people off on a detox program, unless like they needed some other things. But like the detox is Pretty straightforward. And then I coach you throughout the process of the detox. But then anything after that, like if you want to do a one-on-one consultation, I bring in all aspects. So I'm doing a full health evaluation, plus I'm taking in some Ayurvedic perspectives of it. So just for like a 60-minute consultation, you will not only just meet with me and do like the my form that I have, but you will leave within 48 hours. We'll have a dietary, lifestyle, and any herbal recommendations that I will have from you. Now, if you want to, that's like a one-time thing. But if you want to go further, then they can go and book with me, and I could talk to them a little bit more about like what does a long-term plan does. Because I have some clients like I want one-off, and then they realize like, how do I implement this into my life? And a little bit more accountability. Then we could talk about what does that look like and how much coaching you need to have. And so those plans are more customizable. Do you need, phone calls once a week? Do you need text message support? Like how much support you need is going to be based off of like what kind of plan I create for you.
Gotcha. All right. And so to take us out, now, can you give us one of your go-to, whether it's a tea, a supplement, something to leave us with that we can initiate a healthy plan? Like, because I know for the self-love summit you gave this hibiscus tea, I do want that recipe because they were just raving about how delicious it was.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you say?
And I'll send it to you.
Oh, cool. Appreciate it.
So my one thing would be is creating some time and space for yourself. That in itself, because stress is the biggest thing that's going to cause hormonal issues. And so reducing stress levels, and especially for moms out there, finding that time, if that has to be morning or evening, having a morning routine, an evening routine, we're really dedicating that time and saying, I need X amount of time for myself on a daily basis. Because every client I ever deal with, it's always stress from something. And it's even more so than the past year, right? And so it's going to cause a lot of issues overall. So that's my biggest takeaway.
Okay. All right. So finding self-time, which again, mothers, we struggle with, we have so many hats that we wear.
It's like,
like
what is going on?
And like I told you, it's no big deal because my son, if he runs in and out, I'm like, all right, I'm a mom. So it is what it is, right? So right. Rachel said, y'all both look 25, sign me up. So you may have a new client. Thank you, Rachel, for that compliment.
Thank you so much. I'm actually 11 years older than that.
Well, Stephanie, there's another comment. So how true is the diet going with your blood type? So you're a lot of,
So I haven't dove super deeply in it. We learned a little bit about it, but I haven't really had a whole lot of clients that have asked that. But from what I remember, it is pretty accurate when it comes down to your blood type. I also like take it one step further and say like, what is it that you're craving, right? And then based off of what it is that you're craving, will tell you what nutrients that you need to have. But yes, I haven't done those in a while because I have like maybe one or two people that have ever asked me about that. So I have just personally want to delve into it.
Yeah, but you think it works?
Yeah.
So, okay, cool. I hear a lot about it, but again, I haven't even looked to see.
Yeah, there's so many diets out there. There's like diets out there.
This is the frustrating part about trying to get healthy. It's so much information out there. A lot of people just need a start. It just, like, where do I even start? And then some people are like, well, they respond by saying, do your research. On what?
This is the thing that people know what to do, right? But they don't do it. And so there's a lot of information out there. So number one is like, I need a simplified plan for my lifestyle that I can implement into my lifestyle. The second thing is like, okay, and then it's a lot of times it cracks me up. And if you ask me for a meal plan, I want to tell you, I'm like, sure, I'll make you a meal plan, but you're not going to stick to it because every single one of my clients never sticks to a meal plan. I don't even stick to a meal plan. All right. So it's like, give them what they want, but also give them what they need. And like, they want a meal plan, but what they need is accountability because me telling you like, do this, exercise, do this, eat this food. Okay, you can do it for a couple of days and you're going to fall off. So it's really figuring out what you can implement and what are habits that you can have long term. And then the other thing is, do you need that accountability, right? Because some people, they can do it on their own and they're self-motivated. Other people are like, I could do this for 3 days on my own. And then I'm about to go right back to my ice cream. That sounds a lot more enticing than having a berry smoothie for dinner. And I'm like, I get it. Ice cream sounds really great. That's why you need me. You know?
Right. I agree. So any more questions? Y'all asked some great questions. I appreciate y'all tuning in. And
any other questions, feel free to reach out to me. So my email address is just Stephanie@StephanieLopezGilmore.com. So just like you see written there, it's just Stephanie@StephanieLopezGilmore, or reach me through my site too.
Yep. Okay. All right, Stephanie. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy I finally got to hear what you have to say, because again, we missed each other at the moment. So, but I will see you Saturday.
See you Saturday.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And Stephanie, I'll see you soon.
Take care.
Good night, y'all. Bye-bye.